He wore a hoodie, carried groceries, and minded his own business. But to them, he was just another black man in the wrong neighborhood. What they didn't know was that he was trained for war, armed with strategy, and had backup waiting just a call away. This is the story of Darius Cole, a decorated S.W.A.T officer who faced a brutal ambush from a racist gang and turned the entire neighborhood into a battlefield of justice. Darius Cole was not just any cop, born and raised in Detroit. He had grown up around crime, discrimination, and systemic neglect. He lost his older brother to gang violence at 15 and swore he would never let the streets take another life if he could help it. He worked his way up from patrolman to narcotics to tactical response, and eventually became one of the top S.W.A.T leaders in the city. But Darius never lost touch with where he came from. He wore plain clothes, kept his gear discreet, and treated every citizen like a neighbor, not a threat. That's why what happened next wasn't just an attack on him. It was a test of everything he stood for. It was a Saturday afternoon. Darius had just finished visiting his mother on the west side and stopped by a corner store to grab milk, eggs, and bottled water. Wearing sweatpants, sneakers, and a hoodie pulled low, he looked like any other man trying to mind his business. As he exited the store, 3 white men leaned against a beat-up pickup truck nearby. They sneered. "Lost boy," one muttered. "Ain't no handouts here." Another said louder, blocking the sidewalk. Darius didn't flinch. He calmly stepped around them, but one shoved his cart. Milk splashed. The third man pulled up his shirt to flash a knife. "You better get out of here before we decide to clean up this street." Darius looked him dead in the eyes. "You sure you want to do that?" They had no idea who they were messing with. Darius walked away. He wasn't afraid. But he also wasn't about to escalate things in front of the store owner and a young girl watching from a window. But 3 blocks later, as he crossed the parking lot behind a laundromat, they came back with 4 more. 7 men, crowbars, bats, one with a chain. They circled him. "No badge now, huh? No backup? Let's see how tough you really are." Darius slowly set down his groceries. He raised his hands. "You sure this is a road you want to take?" They laughed, until Darius tapped the Bluetooth button in his ear and whispered one word: "Now." In less than 10 seconds, 2 unmarked SUVs pulled into the lot. For plainclothes officers stepped out, body armor visible, weapons drawn but not pointed. The gang froze. One of them dropped his bat. Another tried to run. The third tripped over his own chain. "Get on the ground," one officer barked. Darius pulled out his badge and calmly held it up. "Darius Cole, Detroit Metro S.W.A.T. You're all under arrest." The looks on their faces turned from arrogance to panic. They hadn't just picked a fight with a black man. They picked a fight with the worst possible one. The arrest made headlines. Body cam footage showed how Darius stayed calm, never retaliated, and waited until backup could arrive to de-escalate. 7 men were charged with assault with intent to harm, possession of dangerous weapons, hate crime under federal statute. Darius received commendations for professionalism and restraint, but he didn't bask in the spotlight. Instead, he released a simple statement: "I didn't become an S.W.A.T officer to punish. I became one to protect, even those who hate me." Darius used the incident to launch a new program, Street Strong. It's a community initiative that pairs at-risk youth with mentors in law enforcement, therapy, and job training. He speaks at schools, churches, and city halls, not just about crime prevention, but about healing the gap between law enforcement and the communities they serve. His message? Racism is loud, but discipline, training, and unity are louder. Today, Darius Cole is more than a badge. He's a symbol of what justice looks like when it's calm, composed, and conscious. The men who tried to beat him down are now behind bars. But more importantly, the city that raised him now sees him as a protector, not just of peace, but of dignity. Sometimes, strength isn't about who hits first. It's about who stands last, with wisdom in his voice and justice in his steps. Darius Cole didn't just survive that day. He rose, and in doing so, he showed an entire city what true power really looks like. Subscribe for more powerful, true inspired stories from the streets, the courtrooms, and the lives of everyday heroes.